Good morning and welcome back to another edition of the Robert Phoenix Show, also known as 15 Minutes of Flame, where ironically we take 30 minutes to break down what's happening in the world, in a world that impacts you and I, and it's getting closer and closer every single day. You know, it's kind of like one of those movies, like Star Wars. Do you remember the scene in Star Wars where they were in that kind of wretched space junk compost heap, and it's a trash compactor, and the walls just keep coming closer and closer and closer, and they're using these metal rods to try to keep those walls from just crushing them and compacting them into a metallic cube of space junk and flesh. That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like we're dealing with this compression now around the Electoral College. Let's just go through this. By the way, I got into a flame war this morning with a guy from California. I put this out on Facebook, and I said, yeah, there are 40 electors that are literally looking at turning. And I'm going to give you their names. I'm going to give you the names of the electors for the Electoral College, one of whom is Nancy Pelosi's daughter, who's kind of leading the charge. You give me a break. I mean, come on. This is Nancy Pelosi, who did not even look at Obamacare, didn't even read one sentence. I used to work in a building owned by Nancy Pelosi. I used to ride the elevator with her husband, Paul, in the morning. His office was above the office that I worked at. I think I saw Nancy once or twice. Come on, she is irrelevant. Doesn't matter whether she's the minority leader. She's irrelevant. She hasn't had an idea, a relevant idea in maybe ever. She's irrelevant. Anyway, her daughter is leading the charge on this elector recount. And let's just go through the checklist here, because I put this out today on Facebook. I got into a flame war with a guy from Marin County. Thank God I escaped Marin County. Look, I learned a lot of really good things, interesting things about my time living in California, being a refugee from the New Age. I came in from the cold. I mean, I learned some interesting stuff. Don't get me wrong. I had some interesting relationships. I had a lot of phenomena. I expanded psychically. There were a lot of really cool things that happened. And then we change and we morph in our lives. And to stay in one place forever is not about growing. It's not about growing. Look, I don't have any illusions around who Donald Trump is. He is a big business guy. Astrologically, he is a disruptor. He disrupted the system. Why do you think we're having all these people run around in circles trying to subvert this process? And it is a process, and the people have spoken. Hello, look at the map. Look at the results. Whether you like them or not. I didn't like the results of Barack Obama. I didn't like who ran against Barack Obama. Admittedly, I was into Ron Paul because he was about less government and more freedom. Hey, what an amazing concept. Less government, more freedom. Wow. You didn't stand a snowball's chance in hell. And once he did not challenge a vote, I wish he had a little Jill Stein in him back in 2008 in some of these primaries. But once he didn't challenge the vote, I knew it was over. That Ron Paul would never get elected. And the second time he ran, Ron Paul didn't really even get my attention. Did not register on my radar screen. Thank you very much, Ron. I remember what happened last time. Maybe you're just paving the way for your son. In any case. But I wasn't into Obama. Obama won. And I told my friends, hey, good luck on that. Good luck on that. I even had a conversation with one of these Marin County cutouts. Very nice guy, very spiritual guy, really, really, really talented artist. Totally believing in Obama. Totally. I had a conversation with him about 5 years after that. Oh boy, he was singing a bit of a different tune because unlike some of the people that are so entrenched and so stuck in their consciousness, he was able to kind of look around and go, wow, this is not good. And it hasn't been good. It has not been good. And I'm sorry if I'm ranting here. This is part of the process, part of the exercise. And if I'm preaching to the choir, help me find more members to the choir. You know, have people pass my podcast along. Let's go through this. They tried to take the primaries away from Trump. They would try to go in and steal the primaries. What happened? He won. Then it came down to Trump being the president, the presidential nominee for the Republican Party. And at the national convention, there was all this talk that they were going to steal that primary. This is coming from within the ranks of the Republicans who can't stand him. He won. He goes up against Hillary Clinton. He won. One of the greatest upsets in political history. He won. And the Russians did not hack the election. The progenitors of the fake news meme are the source of the fake news. Bottom line, plain and simple. So now we have Jill Stein coming in and thrown down with that recount. And guess what? They found huge improprieties, and they were actually tilting towards Trump. Not me. What I mean is that the improprieties were not coming from his camp, or they weren't coming from his voter base. No, contrary to that, the improprieties were coming from Clinton's base, and they were finding that there was indeed voter hacking and voter malfunction in Michigan, and so they shut it down. But in the case of Wisconsin, in the case of Pennsylvania, well, certainly Wisconsin, Trump got more votes. Pennsylvania, they just like, no, we're not going there. You know, what you got in, we did a few. We can't go through every single precinct because if we do, it's going to basically they made a call. They made a state call and said, look, we're not going to do this because if we do this, it's going to take too long and it's going to interrupt the process of electing a president. Hey, how about that? What a concept. What a concept. If every single American who was not into Obama, especially round two of Obama, sketchy. Well, I don't think a lot of people were happy. But if there was so much Sturm und Drang, as much Sturm und Drang then as there is now, we'd be looking at maybe a very, very different America. And we still might be if these people are allowed, because now they're at the final frontier. They've got two more obstacles to nail Trump if they want to. It's the Electoral College, and it is the inauguration. So this is the gauntlet that Trump is running. This is from Zero Hedge. I want to read this. This is the 40 electors. It says, update, 40 members, up from 29 earlier, Electoral College on Tuesday, signed a letter demanding an intelligence briefing on Russian interference. Here they are. I'm going to give you their names. I'm going to give you their names. And if you miss this, then you can go to Zero Hedge. Now look at where the states are coming from. Look at the states, okay? Here we go. The original 10, Christine Pelosi, California. Michael Baca, Colorado. Anita Bonds, D.C. Courtney Watson, Maryland. Dudley Dudley. Who the hell names their kid Dudley Dudley? New Hampshire. Bev Hollingsworth, New Hampshire. Terry Norelli, New Hampshire. Carol Shea Porter, New Hampshire. Clay Pell, Rhode Island. Then there's this idiot from Texas, Chris Suprin. Now we have the newly added electors: Edward Buck, California; Donna Ireland, California; Vince Kohler, California; Catherine Lyon, California; John McMurray, California; Andres Ramos, California; Gail Teton Landis, California; Olivia Reyes Becerra, California; David Scott Wormuth, California; Gregory H. Willenborg, California; Jared Sutton, Colorado; Robert Nemenich, Colorado; Nancy Shepardson, Illinois; Dory Dean, Massachusetts; Jason Palich, Massachusetts; Parwiz Wahid, Massachusetts; Paul G. Yorkis, Massachusetts; Robert Leonard, Maryland; Salome T. Peters, Maryland; Melissa Mark Vivaretto, New York; Stuart Applebaum, New York; Stephanie Miner, New York; Melissa Sklarz, New York; Andrea Stewart Cousins, New York; Sam H.W. Sappington, Oregon; Beth Caldwell, Washington; Brett Chiafalo, Washington; Deb Fitzgerald, Virginia; Terry Fry, Virginia; Jeanette Sarver, Virginia. The open letter, led by Christine Pelosi, the daughter of House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, urged the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, to give a detailed briefing on President-elect Donald Trump's ties to Russia. It's about the ties to Russia. Oh my God, this is insanity. This is pure insanity. However, while 40 electors would be enough to turn the election in Hillary Clinton's favor, the so-called Hamilton electors are almost uniformly Democratic voters anyway. And so with Ashley Madison fan, Chris Super, and the only Trump turncoats, for now the soft coup remains a long shot. I'm not looking to be satisfied with just the vote on December 19th or 20th, but on January 2030, when Mr. Trump has either served no time, one term or two terms, Super told the Hill, history is going to judge my actions. What the hell? Who is this guy? Whether he turned out to be Ronald Reagan, Herbert Hoover, Richard Nixon, who is this guy? He is so self-important. So self-important. History is going to judge my actions. Really? You know, in a lot of ways, this is an argument to completely disable the Electoral College because of, you know, craziness like this. So this is what the Hill has added here. The Republican electors are coming under intense pressure to change their votes. Bob Mueller, a GOP county chairman in North Carolina, a Trump elector, said he's gotten correspondence from everywhere, from Maine to California, asking them to vote differently. I just ignored them. So far, only a few Electoral College voters have publicly declared that they will not back the candidates that their states supported. You know, I think it's really, I mean, these people are now public people, right? Everybody is clamoring for transparency. Everybody wants a piece of the political process. So there are the names. Go find them. Go find them. Find them on Facebook. Go find them on Twitter. ZeroHedge.com. Go find the story. The names are all there. Tell them that as an American, I mean, you don't have to. Maybe you're on the other side. Maybe you want to say, yeah, go. Go do that. That's your right. That is your right. You can do that if you want to. You can support these people if you want to. I think it's wrong. I'm on the record. I think it's wrong. If you want to, then please go send them a box of roses or chocolates or a bulletproof vest, whatever you think is going to be most suitable for them. But on the other hand, if you want to let them know as an American how you feel, and you can write or communicate to them in a way that's respectful, in a way that's heartfelt, and in a way that shows them the evidence that the Russians did not hack this election. And by the way, it came out. The Washington Post has had to retract the New York Times had to retract some of their information around the Russians, quote unquote, hacking the election. The FBI has come out and said this is not true. This is not true. So you have competing arms in the octopus of the intelligence agencies. If these people are here to serve the public trust, and you're the public, Send them an email. Go find them on Facebook. It's right there. I read the names. If you want, you can listen to them again or go to Zero Hedge. And if they are serious about this, then you need to be as equally serious about either telling them you support them or telling them that they're wrong and here are the reasons why. The game goes both ways. We are in open hand combat right now. This is the shield and sword aspect. This is the shield and sword phase of our conflict. Now look, if for some reason this thing goes south with the Electoral College, and it's going to happen on a Mercury retrograde, they're going to get the first votes in on I think it's the 6th, but they all vote on Mercury retrograde the 19th. It's a tricky phase astrologically, very tricky, because you're dealing with Mercury and Capricorn. Capricorn being the sign of administrators, hierarchies, the government, banks, you name it. But if it goes down that path, and Trump is not allowed to get to the inauguration, and I guarantee you, we're going to have a civil war. We're going to have a civil war. It's going to happen. Because the people that elected him, the people have been mostly quiet prior to the election, quiet during the time when people were asking them about who they would vote for, holding their vote private and secret to themselves because they didn't want to be rejected. They didn't want to feel the wrath of somebody else's enmity based on a politically correct position. They're the silent majority for a reason. Well, these people will not be so silent if this election is hijacked. And I can't recall any other time, and I'm over half a century old, and I'm not one of the oldest people on the planet. I don't go back to Eisenhower. I don't go back to Truman. I go back to Nixon. I go back to Kennedy. I mean, when I was a kid, I remember I was having my tonsils taken out and I was watching John Kennedy being buried. Actually, it was the cavalcade. It was on his way to being buried. And I asked my mom, I said, what's going on here? I was in a hospital and I had a black and white TV in my room. Oh, it's the president. It's the funeral for the president. And I was kind of stunned. It's like, what? What? How did that happen? Obviously, somebody neglected to fill me in on the major detail. But I've never seen anything like this before. This is the most aggressive and blatant affront and assault on a democratic process. I've seen subversive assaults on the democratic process. That's easy. All you got to do is go back to Bush and Gore. What a joke that was. I was not happy. I was not happy when George Bush was elected. I was not a huge Al Gore fan, but I would have taken Al Gore over George Bush 7 days a week. And not because George Bush was a schizophrenic split personality, maybe even a good clone, bad clone, double. No, it had nothing to do. It was the cabinet baggage that he brought with him, which was the neocons. And you can say anything you want about Trump's cabinet. I'm a Texan. He named Rick Perry, nominated Rick Perry for Energy Secretary. Why? Because Texas produces huge amounts of oil. Rick Perry knows everybody here. He has relationships with everybody. Rick Perry was a loyal soldier. Look, this is America in the 21st century. It is politics and business, and it is trending towards business. The world is a business. China is dominating the world through business, not politics. Do you think when China goes to to Africa to mine rare earth minerals, that they have some wonderful political agenda to uplift the local African economies? No, they don't even employ Africans. They bring their own people in to work the rare earth mineral mines and deposits. They don't even employ Africans. I'll tell you a story about the Chinese. The Chinese would bring African males over for slavery. That's right, they would do that. And you know what they would do with them? They would castrate them. They would castrate them because they didn't want their slaves to interbreed or intermarry with their population. That is the Chinese model. So the world is a business. Do you think that somebody could come along and work with the Chinese and sit down and do some Falun Gong with them? No, it couldn't, because you can't do Falun Gong in China. Can't practice that. They'll harvest your organs. You see what we're up against here? I mean, let's wake up, people. I would love to have more local government. I've got great ideas around things like hemp, great ideas like medicinal. They're not my ideas. They're just out there. I would love for real entrepreneurship to be fostered so that people in the United States can get turned on with ideas, burn in the private sector, ignite the switches of genius in our children. And I don't care what color or race or creed you are in this country. If you can contribute and bring something to the marketplace that is going to be better for all of us, God, bring it on. Bring it on. But we're in a time now where this is not child's play. We're dealing with really powerful economic forces. And look, the one thing that you'll never get out of Trump is you'll never get a hardcore stance on Israel. He's not going to be pro-Palestinian. He's not going to. I mean, if there was one thing that the one thing I'll say about Obama was that there was a part of Obama that was pro-Palestinian. And, he kind of got into that pissing match with Netanyahu, whether it was real or not. I'll give him credit for that. You see, I am nonpartisan. I'm nonpartisan. Whatever. I'm just looking for the truth, man. This is what I'm here to do. And to pass what little of it I can decipher onto you. But let's disabuse ourselves of this notion that we are going to have a kumbaya moment with the rest of the world. The world is breaking up. The world is breaking up with globalism. Brexit, Italy, France is on the fringe. Germany could be next. Trump in the United States. People are fed up with bureaucracy. People are fed up with soft mind control. People are fed up with the intrusion of third-party administration entering into their lives. I don't know if Trump is going to be a panacea to solve those issues. I do know he's a disruptor. I do know that he's not always trustworthy. And he could flip on a dime. He's not Trump. He's very cautious in a lot of ways. He thinks a lot of things through. So he is not impetuous. But if he has to, he can make significant pivots. And we saw that during the election. Not a panacea for everything, but we have to be clear about where we are in the context of the world. The world is breaking up. I was talking with somebody on Facebook last night, and it's almost as if we're forced to choose sides, which is kind of unfortunate. The middle is a real dangerous place to be. So you're either on one side or the other. And that's kind of the way it's being sorted out. But you can participate. You can surrender, push off the bank, let go. And you can use your vision and your discernment and your ability to hold up a standard. Because if Trump somehow makes it through, and he gets through the inauguration, another radical day, astrologically, then it's up to us, we the people, to hold him accountable to the things that he said that he was going to do. And if he doesn't hit those targets and marks, and they rarely do, then we need to judge him accordingly based on what we're getting in return. And that's the process. That was the process when Barack Obama was elected. That was the process when George Bush was elected. It is the same process in place when Donald J. Trump was elected, no matter how you feel about him. He ultimately has to be accountable to us. And so if you're on the pro-Trump side, and there's some things to be excited about. There's some things that could be intriguing here, like bringing more jobs into the country. There's also some caveats. There's some yellow flags. Don't lose sight of them. Don't lose sight of them. Just because your guy won doesn't mean that they are infallible. And I'm being completely honest and open here about it. It's part of the process. I suppose that ultimately here I will turn to a Marin County sentiment, which is the power is within you. And it's true. It is within you. Donald Trump is an amalgamation, a collective archetypal representation of who we are and how we're feeling. Even if the game is rigged, we cannot divorce ourselves from the collective projection that we have given consent to. And at the end of the day, it's up to us to manage and make sure that that person and the people around him are ultimately serving our interests and the interests of our children and the interests of our children's children. It's Robert Phoenix. You've been listening to 15 Minutes of Flame. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your move.